When you can see somebody is living their best life, it's a good idea to take note of their techniques. So, welcome to Manifestation Secrets of Taylor Swift. Hey everyone, I'm Rosie Blythe. I'm the author of the Princess Kite Life book series, and on this channel we talk about everything from spirituality to money to books to dogs to boats. And today we are talking about the manifestation secrets of Miss Taylor Swift. So, some people will never like you. I realise this sounds like a limiting belief. It's almost like, oh, the more successful you get, the more haters you're going to get. And maybe some people find that blocks them from wanting success, because I think some people have a perception that the higher you climb, the more people are going to be jealous of you. And I think that is true, but it doesn't have to be a limiting belief. I think it can actually be a liberating belief to just accept this, to just go, yeah, some people aren't going to like me. They're just going to have to get over that, aren't they? Because even the people, like, there is not one single human being on the planet that everybody likes. Not even the ones that you think everyone likes, like Dolly Parton. I guarantee there is someone out there who hates her. So Taylor Swift, she was submitting demos in Nashville age 11. She got her first record deal at 13. So, and she's pretty and she's talented and her parents were really supportive. And I can see why some people are just going to hate her. That's enough to get some people really riled up. I think some people have this kind of idea of, if you're going to be really successful as an adult, you need to have been an ugly duckling. You know, you need to have been unpopular in school and not attractive. So somebody like Taylor Swift coming along and being like, you know what, I went straight from being a cute kid to being a successful adult, and I did everything really early, and now I'm like a billionaire several times over. That's going to get up people's noses. Just want to interrupt myself here to say that, of course, Taylor wasn't actually popular in school. She's alluded to this in various songs, and there's a quote here from somebody who went to school with her saying, when she first started becoming super successful, most people hated her. She's literally 16 or 17, leaving school to pursue a career that people are telling her that she could never have. So yeah, that would be very annoying for jealous people. And it's just like, what are you going to do? People are going to hate you. It doesn't matter. It's just noise. So in 2014, at the Grammys, which are in January, Taylor Swift was dancing to Kendrick Lamar and Imagine Dragons. And just as a side note, this is something she does. She is always that first person to stand up and start clapping or stand up and dance. She's really supportive of other artists. So Taylor Swift starts dancing and it becomes like this internet meme thing where everyone's just laughing, saying she couldn't get any whiter with her dancing skills. And so, yeah, people just made fun of her. Now, Taylor Swift, being the Taylor Swift that she is, she then decided to make a really self-deprecating video. So she makes fun of herself, which is always such a great power move. She can't dance in any genre. She can't do street dance. She can't do ballet. She can't do anything. And of course the song title, Shake It Off, has become such a great anthem for those moments when you just think, oh, screw it, I can't be bothered listening to this criticism, I'm just going to forget about it. I think it's quite telling that she did feel that, you know, the weight of that pressure of public opinion on her. Because let's face it, if you're having a great night out dancing with your friends and then the next morning you find out that you're actually being ridiculed worldwide, that must really suck. And I think this is why people hark back to the days before social media, because you could make the biggest fool of yourself if you wanted to and nobody could record it. If someone starts making fun of you, if you then make fun of yourself, what have they got? But then it was decided that Taylor Swift and the video were guilty of cultural appropriation. A lot of other artists will have similar kind of setups in their videos, so I'm not quite sure why it was only cultural appropriation when Taylor did it, but that was the story we were told. And no offence to One Direction, rest in peace Liam Payne, but the following month, September 2014, they actually released a video for Steal My Girl, which definitely falls into the cultural appropriation slot. I mean, they're dancing with tribesmen and they've got sumo wrestlers, and there was not a peep about them. Absolutely nothing. And you just kind of think, is it only racist if Taylor Swift does it? Oh, okay, it's only racist when Taylor Swift does it. Right, gotcha. And then there was the video for Wildest Dreams, which was set in Africa. And it was set in kind of the Hollywood golden age. So then she was accused of glamorising colonialism. And You can argue about the rights and wrongs of this, but it's just interesting that she is held to a completely different standard to anyone else. Lots of white creators, whether musical artists or filmmakers, are creating things that are set in a particular area or a particular era, and they're not threatened with cancellation with every new release. So for some reason, the narrative back then was Taylor Swift is somehow incredibly racist. And it just came out of thin air. And I think this is so much about people create false narratives. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, where somebody decides something about you, and the more you try and say like, no, that's wrong. I'm not like that at all. You've got the wrong end of the stick. The more you argue against it, the more people are like, oh, you're protesting too much. And in the end, you just have to let it go and just go, all right, you believe something that's not true, but whatever, I can't change your mind. Imagine being famous, how much more you have to just accept that a million people are going to read a story about you that isn't true, and they're just going to accept it as the truth. And this is such a great manifestation lesson, because it's just about letting go. Sometimes you just have to accept that people are going to get the wrong end of the stick about you. They're going to believe something that isn't true, or people are just going to dislike you for whatever reason. Maybe you look like their most hated teacher. Maybe you remind them of an ex. It doesn't matter. They dislike you for an irrational reason. There's nothing you can do. And I think this lesson is all about just do your thing, because everything else is just noise. And the funniest thing is, this was 10 years ago and it did not destroy her career, which leads me to the next point. So I'm not going to go into a massive amount of detail because it's very easily Googleable and you probably already know it, but Kanye West and Taylor Swift have kind of had an ongoing feud. It all started when he interrupted her speech, saying that basically she shouldn't have won the award that she won, and it all went downhill from there. Just recently, people have been pushing the idea that Kanye was actually saving Taylor from being murdered by Beyonce, I think, something along those lines. Now, I love a conspiracy theory as much as the next girl, but this one makes no sense if you look at everything that Kanye has done since, so I don't think so. And he's since kind of tried to claim that, like, he put her on the map and he's responsible for her success, but, like, she was up there getting an award, Kanye.
I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. Why? I made that bitch famous.
So then he talks about her in a song and he claims that she was fine with it. And her reps came out and said, no, that's not true. And then Kim Kardashian releases an edited version of a phone call, which seems to show that Taylor Swift actually did approve of it.
Yeah, I mean, go with whatever line you think is better. It's obviously very tongue-in-cheek either way. And I'm really glad that you had the respect to call me and tell me that as a friend about the song, and it's a really cool thing to do, like, and a really good show of friendship, so thank you.
And the one thing that I noticed was that Taylor Swift is so polite. Like, she's just ridiculously like, oh yeah, that's really nice, thanks, that's so sweet of you. And from one kind of people pleaser to another, I can tell, like, she probably wasn't super happy about it, but she was trying to find a tactful way to say that. So when this came out, it basically derailed her career. I won't say it destroyed her career, although she has actually since come out and said that her career was taken away from her. She said that she barely left the house. She didn't leave the house for like a year. And I think it must have just really hurt her, because she'd been putting up with a certain level of kind of hate, as I think any famous person does, but particularly young female famous people. But this was just an entirely other dimension of hatred. And yeah, she just kind of crawled into a hole and didn't want to come out. I think we've all been there. I don't think many of us have experienced that kind of worldwide fame, and I can't imagine what that must feel like. I think we've all had days where, you know, someone being horrible to us at school or work or, you know, in our local community, that's bad enough. But to kind of experience this on a global stage, I have no idea how anyone copes with it. And then Kanye made like a video with a bunch of naked people in bed with him, including her body, which obviously is not real, but how gross. How absolute, like, it's so gross. And this might be a conversation for a whole other video, but I'm just puzzled why Kim Kardashian seemed to be okay with this, why she was constantly just defending her husband's right to say he wanted to have sex with Taylor. I just don't get it. I think it was Taylor who actually likened this to revenge porn, and I think she's right. I think it's just so disgusting. But you know what? She came out of it stronger. I think we all love the kind of the comeback album where she she came back swinging. She was just like, I'm not gonna put up with your crap. I'm going to be a little bit feistier maybe than I was before. And I'm gonna let everyone know that actually you're a liar. This girl is like a Terminator. Like, no matter how many times she gets knocked down, every time she gets up, she's stronger. And I think that's such a great lesson for us. Like, if you feel like the whole world is against you, if you feel like your life is destroyed, it's not. I guarantee it, you can come back from it. You can come back from anything.
We've not got involved with politics or religion.
Yeah, but this is on the home front. And also, back in the presidential election, I was in such a horrendous place that I wasn't going to pop my head out of the sand for anything.
Would you? Imagine if we came to you and said, hey, we've got this idea that we could halve the number of people that come to you next tour.
And the other thing, just from a security
So you
standpoint,
think
Taylor Swift comes out against Trump.
I don't care if they write that. I'm saying right now that this is something that I know is right, and I'm going to try to start. I just really want you to know that this is important to me.
And
This
the
is
bottom
something
line right now, I'm terrified. I'm the guy that went out and bought armored cars.
I worry for her safety as much as anybody does, maybe more.
It really is a big deal. She really basic human rights, and it's right and wrong at this point, and I can't see another commercial and see her disguising these policies behind the words Tennessee Christian values. Those aren't Tennessee Christian values. I live in Tennessee. I am Christian. That's not what we stand for. I need to do this. I need you to just, I need you to forgive me for doing it, because I'm doing it.
So when I was watching this, I was like, I relate to Taylor so much in this because, you know, her parents want the best for her. They want her to be safe. They don't want her to alienate at least 50% of her audience. I think this like need for approval from your parents, I think everybody feels this to some extent, because if you get on well with your parents, if you really love them and respect their points of view and respect their decisions, then going against that can feel really difficult because you kind of think, well, my parents are generally right about this thing, but I feel really strongly that I need to do this. You know, it makes you doubt your own judgment because you respect them so much. But I think at some point you are going to go a different way from your parents. That's just the way it is. Whether it's politically or in your life decisions, you know, you don't have to have a carbon copy of their life. But I think even those people who don't get on very well with their parents, I think that's an even more complicated thing because you can love your parents without respecting them. Like, you can look at the way they've parented you and be like, you were not good. You are not good parents. But I think everybody still wants that approval. Somewhere deep down inside, I think there's still that need for approval. So in a way, it's easier if you do have a good relationship with them because you can then just have that conversation. You can sit them down and say, look, I love you and I respect you, and I generally think that you are right about a lot of things, but I think you're wrong on this one thing, so that's why I'm going to do this thing that I think is right. So Taylor Swift's parents are really concerned for her safety, because once you come out as being in favour of one thing or another, the people on the opposite side of that are going to hate you because that's what we're like now. Because some people are just so afraid of a different point of view that they want to destroy someone who says that point of view. It's really weird. I think people kind of assumed that she was a Republican for some reason. I think because I've noticed Republican women, see, I'm from the UK, so I'm slightly detached from Republican Democrat stuff. We have slightly different parties in the UK. But I've noticed a lot of the Republican women are like these real like Southern Belle women they're very blonde, but you can tell they have this like steely inner core. And I think Taylor kind of looks a little bit like that. So I think people just kind of assumed that that was, you know, old fashioned values, Republican stuff. So when she was like, I'm going to come out and say that I'm a Democrat, I think understandably, you can imagine a lot of her audience could just fall away. But if I was only going to consume content from people that I agreed with 100%. There's not a book or a film or a piece of music that I could listen to, honestly. Because we're all different. It's okay to be different. It's so weird to me that people have got this idea that you can only be a fan of someone if you 100% agree with everything that they do and say. Like, to me, that's ridiculous. Or the idea that you can only be friends with someone if you agree with everything they say. I mean, like, variety is the spice of life. I have friends who are completely distant from me, like politically, religiously, in every possible way, But that's great because we're still friends. Like, it's okay to have friends who are different from you. And really, if you want to convert them to your way of thinking, how are you going to do that if you don't talk to them? Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. That wasn't actually the point that I wanted to make. And the thing is, if you don't come out and say things that you believe in, if you've always got like this blocked throat chakra where you can never say what you really think, if your friends don't know your political views maybe, or your friends don't know what you think about a particular thing, and you don't want to say anything because you think, oh, they're not going to like me if they know that. Guess what? They don't like you now. They don't like the real you. They only like the fake version that you're projecting into the world. So if you really want to have authentic relationships with people, and you have to just speak out about the things that you really believe and just say what you're actually thinking. Don't just go along with what everyone else is saying because you think that that's the way to gain approval. But it's really tough. I relate to Taylor so much here because I've had conversations with my parents like this where it's just like, I love you, I respect you, but I'm going to do this thing now. And you know what? It turned out she was right. It didn't hurt her career. At least I don't think so. I mean, I haven't like closely followed like the numbers of her, followers on social media or her numbers, but every concert she does is like sold out within about 2 seconds. So I think she's doing okay.
In the last couple of years, the media have had a really wonderful fixation on kind of painting me as like the psycho serial dater girl. It's been awesome. I've loved it. It got pretty out of control there for a couple of years because it would be like every article was like, Taylor Swift standing near some guy. Watch out, guy. And, every single article was kind of like, had these descriptions of my personality that were very different from the actual personality. And my first reaction was to be like, man, that's a bummer. This isn't fun for me. But then my second reaction ended up being like, hey, that's actually kind of a really interesting character they're writing about. Like, she jet sets around the world collecting men, and she can get any of them, but she's so clingy that they leave, and she cries, and then she gets another one in her web, and she traps them and locks them in her mansion, and then she's crying in her marble bathtub surrounded by pearls. So I was like, I can use this. This is called blank space.
I'm so glad that the whole world is not privy to all the details of every single person that I've ever been on a date with. I cannot imagine what that must be like. But I really like what Taylor did here because she took control of this narrative. She was like, you know what, if you're going to say this about me. And she did this actually with the snakes as well, with the Kim Kardashian thing, where Kim called her a snake. She was just like, all right then, snake it is. So I think that's really cool that, again, like, it's like judo. When people come against her, she's just like, I'm going to use your own strength to knock you down. So I really like this idea that if you don't like the narrative that people are telling about you, you can just switch it up. I think, we can all use this because, I don't know, let's say you've slept with a lot of people and you kind of wish that you hadn't, and you're like, oh, I've got this reputation now. You can't change the past. I mean, I know there are people in the manifestation community who talk about revision, but let's just assume that we can't change the past. So what can you do instead? Well, just change the way that you think about it. So like, maybe watch some of those old like black and white film noirs where there's like a mysterious woman and she's got like this checkered past. Like, just think of yourself like that. Think of yourself as being like Rita Hayworth. You're like, yeah, I've got this like shady past. What do you think of that? And it doesn't have to be this thing that like makes you feel damaged. Or like, I don't know, let's say that you come from a really rough area and maybe like your family has a really bad reputation. And it makes you feel ashamed because like when you say your name to people, they're like, oh, you're one of the Smiths. And you can change it. So you can be like, yeah, I'm one of the notorious Smiths. I'm from the wrong side of the tracks, baby. And you can just like make it not a thing that makes you feel bad about yourself. Just take, like, if you're always feeling like you're not worthy or like people are going to be looking down on you, you can change it. Whatever you feel is a negative in your background or in your personal reputation, you can switch it up. Or like, if you're not very good looking, let's say, if you're a girl who thinks that you're ugly, maybe you're not going to be, an Instagram model, but you can find characters in literature that you can relate to. So you could be like, yeah, I'm like Jane Eyre. I'm a bit plain, but I'm very honest. And I always do the right thing according to my conscience, and I'm a strong woman. And I think that's really useful, like finding characters that you can relate to from like literature or TV shows or movies or whatever. Like find somebody who has the sort of attributes that you have that you feel are negative, and you can think like, no, they've turned it into a positive, so I can do that too. So Taylor Swift gives away a lot of money, and I know what you're thinking. I can hear you. You are thinking, oh, but she's a billionaire, so she can afford it. I have 3 counter arguments for you. First of all, we don't know how much she gives away. Because, I mean, she said that she's a Christian, so she may well tithe 10% of her income, which is going to be quite a lot, the amount that Christians are supposed to tithe. So it may well be that, but we don't know. The reason that we don't know is because she doesn't tell us. Because so many of these donations, we only know about them because the person who's received the money has told everyone. So like there are tweets from charities saying, thank you Taylor Swift for your donation. There are people just randomly going on social media going, yeah, just Taylor Swift sent me some money. Like it's kind of crazy. But that's the only reason that we know about it. So she doesn't make a big fanfare about it. She just gives money to people. And I think she probably does have a lot of fun doing this. Like, ooh, which GoFundMe shall I fund today? Like, it must be so cool. So she's done some really beautiful things, like she made a song about a child who had cancer. She has donated books to her hometown library when she was in the UK. I know that she donated a huge amount to food banks. I think she like covered them for the next year or something ridiculous. So yeah, everywhere she goes, she sprinkles a little bit of magic, which is lovely, isn't it? And the second point I want to make is that lots of people are millionaires and some people are billionaires. And lots of them don't give away this much money. So like, I think a lot of the kind of famous people, musical artists and film people, I think they do quite a bit of charity work, but I'm sure lots of them don't. And we don't hear about them, do we? We don't hear about people not giving away money. And also you have people giving away money or spending money on stuff that I would consider not that important, like, you know, trips to Mars, Elon Musk. I think buying books for kids is way more important. And the third point is, how much do you tithe? Because comparatively, I am pretty sure if you're watching this on your phone or your computer where you have internet access, comparatively speaking, you're a millionaire. To some people, it would seem like you're a millionaire. I think this is one of the funny things about manifestation, is that it's like the hidden secret. It's almost like the step nobody wants to actually do. Because it's like, you have to really believe that you are going to be provided for. If you're willing to give away a big chunk of your income, that suggests a pretty strong trust that you're going to get more back. And you can't outgive God, as they say. Anyway, I'm going to have to make a part 2 to this video at some point because there's so many lessons that you can take from Taylor Swift. I wanted to keep this to like 5 bullet points, keep it fairly short. So look out for another Taylor Swift video coming soon. And I will also be doing videos on lots of other public figures and their manifestation secrets. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.